And to find out more about the issues of the summit and what's likely to be achieved, we're joined now by Einar Tangen. He's an international businessman and consultant who's advised Chinese and U.S. officials on economic development. He's also a regular contributor here at CGTN. And Einar, let's start right there with Tong Bo talking about BRICS Plus. See the U.S. talking about pulling out of NAFTA, tough talk recently from the U.S. president towards South Korea about trade. And then you look at BRICS, and they're talking about expanding the pie. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, you have to remember why BRICS was created in the first place, Mike. This was an alternative thing. All of these countries felt that they had been bypassed for various issues. So this idea of creating this new structure and now expanding it, it's also very different. It's a much more collegial, much more about consensus than it is the kind of corporate model where 51% rule. So I think it's a much stronger model in the end, and it's attracting a lot of people. This is all about trade and security, anti-protectionism, and also fighting terrorism. So these are the main issues, and it's becoming a focal point as things in the U.S. Tend to deteriorate or become very unknown.
Einar, talk to us about China as a player on the world stage. I mean, hosting the G20 in Hangzhou last year, the Belt and Road Forum earlier this year, now hosting BRICS. Can you talk about China's emergence on the world stage as the U.S. appears to be withdrawing from it?
Well, I think that's the key here, Mike. A lot of people say that China is being aggressive, but actually it's stepping into a vacuum that's being formed by the U.S. kind of pulling back. The uncertainty factor is really just as big as the vacuum. Xi Jinping is a very consistent performer. He has a very consistent message, and this is a stark contrast to what Donald Trump does. He likes to keep people guessing as to where he's going to go. He has a lot of differences between his opinion and others. So when the world looks at this, they're trying to figure out what the future is. Certainty is the most important part of that.
She's talking about the second global or golden decade, I should say. Now, some analysts say this next decade for BRICS is probably going to mean deeper ties. But what did we witness in the first decade of BRICS? And what do you expect in this next decade? And is BRICS exerting its economic and political clout, or is that something we'll continue to see emerge?
Well, I think that one of the important tests that occurred was this Dokkum Sikkim standoff, where everything was resolved without a single shot being fired. And this was a very tense standoff, but yet both sides were willing to put everything on hold because of the importance of the global situation and where they stand with it. In the past, the steps have been taken have been very modest, but they have been very steady, especially in the areas of financial security, promoting also physical security. So what you're seeing is a lot of consensus building, growing a trust network. But like I said, a lot of this is not something that they have been looking for and trying to affirmative grasp, but more about the U.S. kind of withdrawing and they having to put together an economic and security network that works not only for them, but for their trade partners.
Einar, one final question. What are the key things you'll be watching for at this BRICS summit?
Well, the closing statement should be very important. It would be nice if all of them could get together and make a unified statement saying that no BRICS nation will take any violent action towards another, that using force of arms is not the way forward. This is in stark contrast to what's happening in North Korea. These are the types of things where you do not want this kind of brinksmanship going on. And I think China and the rest of the BRICS nation are very committed to this. In terms of financial and anti-terrorism things, I think we've already seen some strong statements there. China's putting another $80 billion into this whole network. This is very important things, because putting your money up, especially at a time when U.S. guarantees and finances are kind of pulling back from the world, is extremely important.
Einar Tangen in Beijing for us. Thanks so much.